Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Cover Band Central official podcast for number 198 for Tuesday, April 25th, 2023. I'm Steve Witchell in New Orleans.
I'm Tony, big time, coming to you live from New Jersey. What's happening, Steve Witchell?
Turn her up. Today, it's our birthday.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll talk about that as our topic. 9 years ago today, I started the Cover Band Central Facebook page, and I'm going to talk about the history of that, why I did it, and what I was looking to accomplish, and kind of a report card on my birthday of what how I've done as far as what I wanted to accomplish, and then what I'd like to do going forward. But we are broadcasting live right now, Tuesday, April 25th, 7 p.m. Central Time. If you're coming in live and watching us here on the Facebook page and the Facebook group or on YouTube, come on in and say hello. Tell us where you're from, and we'll say hello back, and we'll chat with you. Like Eric did. I know this is Eric. He said, congratulations, handsome gents.
What's up?
Somebody else said, happy birthday, boys.
Nice.
A lot of emojis there. I like
Yeah.
it. Daniel said, happy natal day. I don't know what natal day is.
Okay.
I don't know. Anybody else, come on in and say hello. Tell us where you're from. We will say hello back like Natalie did. Is in Florida. Nice picture there with family. Like it.
Hello, Florida.
Ron said happy birthday. He played bass in a few cover bands back in the day, whatever the day was.
Back in the day, Steve. Back in the day.
Vonda's back. She's from Michigan.
Hey,
Hello, Vonda. Thanks for coming back. Chad's in Pennsylvania. Says to rock on.
Yeah, rocking. Hey, go
Mike,
back to that. He had a nice picture there. A little, looks like he's a drummer.
Michael with Smudge said happy birthday. Yeah, I'll go back. There you go. Yeah, I see a cymbal and a hi-hat, or a hi-hat, maybe
drum.
Snare. I like it. Barbara said happy birthday. Thank you, Barbara. Sandy's in South Georgia. Michelle said happy birthday. Sarah's in Massachusetts. Oh, natal means birthday. Duh. Of course it does.
Prenatal development. Happy
Thank
natal
you,
day.
Vonda. Yeah. So there's that. We were off last week, and
Indeed, we were.
yeah, we're getting close to 200, so we'll have something special for 200 in a couple weeks. But if you're we're newly on this platform called Pantheon, and there's a ton of music podcasts on there, music-related podcasts. That's all there is on there. It's a great network. And then we're on the, you can listen to it on the Megaphone format. So the link is in the description there for Megaphone. Click on that. You can listen to all of our previous audio podcasts, 1 through 198 are on there. Or 198 will be on there.
Yeah, so you got 197 hours prior to tonight to get caught up on.
Yeah. I've listened to, over the last couple weeks, dude, I've listened to a couple, and they're good. Like, especially the more recent ones now that I got my sound booth here. The quality is much better.
Dude, if you think about how far we've come from episode 1 to, even from episode 1 to 100, and then from 100 to 200, I mean, it's, it's quite a jump, right? I mean, the content, the quality of the content, Steve, was always good. It's only gotten better, but
yeah, and
the delivery of the podcast is surpassed any expectations we may have had earlier.
Yeah, I think it's fluctuated over the years. There were some times when it was not so good, based on what I was doing on my end than you. But now we got it. Now
I was going to say I have stellar performances.
You do
200 episodes, so I don't know what you're talking about there.
You do. You've been.
I wouldn't fault yourself for anything, Steve. I think it's been consistently excellent.
Well, you've certainly been consistent throughout. Cindy's in Jersey Shore. What's up, Cindy?
Jersey Shore, Cindy, down the beach.
Michael's in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Thanks for checking in. Barbara's in Georgia.
Hell yeah.
Also, you can give stars if you're watching on the Facebook page. That's a digital gift you can give to us if you like the content. Yeah. It's a way of saying thank you. And they come in packs, I believe, and 1 star is 1 cent. So you get a pack of 100 or 500 or 1,000 or whatever. And if you'd like to throw those our way, we sure do appreciate that. Especially for our birthday. It's our birthday gift.
Throw us a nickel. Come on.
That'd be a nice birthday gift, right?
Penny for every year.
Daniel said we rock.
9 cents. Awesome. Thanks, Ed.
Tanda's in North Carolina,
Yep.
and Elizabeth says good evening. Um,
Good
so,
evening.
so I got some stuff to catch you up on with my things that I've been
Let's go.
doing. 2 weeks. A lot happens in 2 weeks, Tony.
A lot happens in 2 weeks, Steve. Wait till I get you caught up.
All right. Do you want to start with you? What you got?
No, I don't want to spoil your enjoyment, but I can go first if you'd like me to.
Well, I don't know how much enjoyment is coming from this. Some of it is unpleasant.
Okay, so let me go first then so I can at least preface that with some enjoyment.
Okay.
So, had a couple of gigs since last time we talked. We got a new subwoofer for the PA. We
Nice.
talked briefly about that last
We
time.
did. We did.
It
Yeah.
was noticeable. It was good. But we bought it. It arrived. We brought it to the gig, hooked it up, and in 5 minutes had it running and used it. But we didn't fine tune it or really go through. So this past weekend we had no gigs. So we got together at the guitar player's house. He graciously hosted us, the singer
Nice.
guitar player,
Okay.
hosted us outside on his deck, and we set up the entire band with the entire PA, and we rang out the PA. Went through everyone's vocal mic, got all the levels correct, got the monitors correct, got all the effects on the vocals correct. And I had a buddy of mine, Mike Brennan, who's a professional sound guy. He came up in the afternoon, gave us some pointers, then stood out front, and we played, because we play a very eclectic mix of tunes, right? From
Right. Right.
from loud to soft to dynamic to not dynamic, from Steely Dan to Van Halen to The Who, so it's every song is something different. So we don't have a sound guy or the luxury of a sound guy to constantly tweak the sound depending on who's singing, what the genre of the song might be. So we were able to do that. So we rang out the PA, and then my friend Mike stood out front, and we played a bunch of songs, and he gave us a critique, and then we dialed it in. And I would say that our PA sound prior was maybe a 6.
6 out of 10.
Quality-wise. Six out of 10 for the
Okay.
monitors, and like an 8 out of 10 out front. And I
Okay.
think now we're probably an 8 out of 10 with the monitors and a 9 out of 10 out front.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was exciting because we finally got to shake out the PA. Now, listen, I use in-ear monitors and I have my own sub-mixer, so I
Right.
control my whole mix. So the monitor mix for me is outstanding every time because I control it, right? So if something's too loud, I lower it. If it's more, I put it up.
Right.
These guys are using traditional, wedge monitors on the floor, and some guys are sharing a monitor. Jim for his keyboard monitor has a dedicated monitor, but doesn't seem to be able to get loud enough for him to hear it. So I'm trying to convince these guys to go the in-ear route. At least me and Jim go in-ears. I got the bass player in my in-ear monitor mix now as opposed to prior. I just had his cabinet next to me and I could kind of feel it. But now I actually have him in my in-ears. So very productive, exciting weekend ringing out the PA system. Because, garbage in, garbage out. It's no fun playing a gig if it sounds like garbage, especially in your monitors, because it sounds killer out front, but these guys are struggling with the real crappy monitor mix, It's feeding back. They don't have the right balance. So that makes it a struggle, right? Because you know as well as I do that if your monitor mix is crappy, it's a struggle to play. When your
Yes.
monitor mix sounds like a CD and you can hear everything crystal clear, you play effortlessly. You don't play as hard. You sing. You don't yell. It's a whole different environment.
Agreed. I'm envious of you that you get to use in-ears. I've used them before. I love them, and I wish I could. And I mean, talking about PA problems, not having your mix right.
Yeah.
I experience that all the time. Fortunately for us, we have one sound man that does most of the clubs on Bourbon Street, which is crazy, really. It's just one guy. He sets up every band, gets them, sound check, line check, try to get a good mix, and that's it. Set it, forget it. And often we have to call him back in, like something's feeding back.
Sure. Yeah.
So I mean, it's a constant battle of trying to get what you did, what you had the luxury of doing on a weekend day, and you had people to come in and advise you as well. So
but let me preface that by saying it took 6 or 7 months to get that to happen. You know what I mean?
right,
Like we talked about it, and then finally it was like, like the past gig, the one guy was like, the monitor mix is horrible. I said, guys, I've been telling you for 6 or 7 months, let's go ring out the PA. I'm not complaining because my mix is stellar. My mix sounds great. I'm not
right,
screaming, I'm singing, I'm playing relaxed. It's great. But to your point too, I have to have in-ear monitors because we play everything live to a click. So
right.
I need a way to be able to hear that and no one else too. So
Right.
if I had a regular wedge monitor, it'd be very hard to get the click in there.
Right.
I would still have to wear some sort of earphone, earpiece.
Right. But like you said, it does improve other people's playing when they could hear themselves better. And, with you with the in ears where you could hear it like it's a CD, and all those points you made about you don't play too hard, you don't yell, you sing. And yeah, that it's a world of a difference. I highly recommend it. And it's better for your hearing too. You're not blowing out with super high end sounds that
No, because
are
I can
ear
control the
piercing.
volume because I have in ears and they're sound isolating to some extent, right?
Right.
So I can adjust the mix so it's comfortable, and I
Right.
don't get bleed because they're very well isolated. I'm amazed when I pull my in ears out at how loud the stage volume is and how difficult it is to hear clearly everyone's parts as
Right.
opposed to having the in ears.
You
So
you adjust, that's what
you do.
happens. You just where if the guitar player is low in the mix for you, which
Hmm.
is the case for me in both bands, really. Like if I were to mix it, it's low. I could hear it though, so it's like okay, your ears adjust. You figure out where it is in the grand scheme of things, and you
Sure, but
carry
if you
on.
can hear crystal clear,
Oh
it's
yeah,
night and day.
oh yeah, night and day.
So it'll
It's
be
great.
interesting to see. So we wrung out the PA and did the test outdoors, right? Like, in an open environment. So it'll be
Hmm.
interesting now to see when we bring those settings because, the digital board, you can save the scene and it saves all your settings. So you can pull,
Perfect.
test one, setting, right? And then it saves your scene. So it'll be interesting to see how that outdoor scene translates to an indoor gig.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. Location is important, and PA is going to sound different in any different location. So,
100%. But at least we got a baseline to start from, and then
right,
we'll go from there.
right.
So that's all my excitement, Steve.
That's awesome, though. Again, I'm envious of you that you get to do that, because
Well, it's
I
not for
don't.
lack of effort. Like I said, I mean,
Sure.
it's a different environment, right? Like, you know, we're a band with no subs. It's a democracy, pretty much. We vote on what songs we're going to do, and if
Right.
someone doesn't want to do something, we don't do it. Unless he's outvoted, and it's very fair. But for something like that, it's just it was a must. Because at the gig you can only get the sound so good. We probably spent 6 or 7 hours,
Hmm.
on this event here. So even 15 minutes before a gig to sound check, you can only adjust so much. So it was nice to have that luxury. So I'll let you know going forward with some updates of how successful it was.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing about it.
Yeah, I'm gigging this weekend, so I'll let you know next week.
Oh, nice. Is it indoor or outdoor gig?
Funny you should say that, Steve, because it depends on the weather. It's supposed to potentially rain on Sunday, and if that were the case, then it would be indoors. But it's a big venue, holds 300 to 500 people, easily.
Hmm.
But outdoors would be similar to the environment that we had just tested it in. So if we can play outdoors, I think we'll be golden.
Right. Excellent.
Happy 9th birthday to us!
That's
Yeah,
right.
you rock,
Got a
dude.
couple of people still congratulating us,
Rock on.
like Porch Pirates, like
Yeah.
that band. Barbara likes my red Solo cup, celebratory drink in
Yes.
in there. I'm not going to tell you what it is though.
No, I'm not gonna
Mary's
do it.
in Tacoma, Washington. Thanks for joining us, Mary. Deborah's here. So yeah, a lot of stuff went on in the last couple weeks in my situation. And for recap, I don't want to have this up the whole time. Okay, there we go.
You can just put it up occasionally to get some applause out of it. And
Yeah, it's a big thing, and after I
big
give you
deal,
the
man.
after I give you the recap, we'll talk about that. But so 2 weeks ago, okay. Recap is I play on Bourbon Street Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I play in two different bands. First band starts at 2 o'clock. We play till 6:15. Second band starts at 7 o'clock, and we play till 1:30 on Friday and Saturday, and Sunday generally midnight or earlier. It's a long day.
The second band is right across the street. which
Right
is
across
why
the
you
street,
You can
which
start a set within a half an hour of ending another gig.
yeah, which I really kind of for the first time this weekend realized how lucky I am and how rare that is. Because there's other bars on Bourbon Street that I could be playing at that's for the second gig that I'd have to walk. You know,
Yeah.
I'd have to walk a couple blocks or a few blocks or whatever, which is a pain in the ass. I mean, that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a pain in the ass when you're bringing gear over and all that. So it's
Pain in the ass if you're a drummer and have to bring gear.
yeah, definitely a drummer, but anybody. I mean, because I carry shit back and forth all the time. But the fact that it's back and forth, that it's across the street, is incredibly rare, and I realized just how fortunate I was this weekend. Like, not because I had any extra work to do or anything. I just kind of realized it. Like, well, I don't have to. I don't have to go down a couple blocks to the crazy corner or famous store or whatever. I can just walk right across the street. You know,
Yeah.
and that's not something that most people get to do or experience. So pretty cool. But anyway, so that's the recap. I do that. I've been doing that since October, really. I'll say hi to a few more people. Patrick in San Francisco. Shirley's in Kentucky. And Cliff on YouTube said, happy birthday to CBC from Michigan. By the way, the link for the YouTube channel is in the description. If you're watching us on Facebook, go check out our YouTube channel. Click on that link and check out all of our previous videos. Not just the podcast, but there's other stuff in there. And make sure you subscribe and hit the bell. There it is.
Wow.
So I've been doing that for a while, and the first band is called Cornerstone, and I'm not the band leader, but I do basically manage the band on stage. I'm kind of the musical director. I call the songs. I say when the tip jar goes out and all that stuff. And quite often I'm getting singers to come in and sub for us. Like, I'm the one that's responsible for it. I've been picking up the pay every week. I do a lot for that band. I do the tip app thing. And it just kind of came to a head a couple weeks ago where on Saturday I just been so stressed out doing it, not because of the work, but because of the non-compliance or cooperation of other band members. Meaning, when we use a sub, we need to know some different songs usually. And I gave them a heads up a few weeks ago, like, when we use this person, please, we need to pick up these songs. And it was just like 3 or 4 songs. And, they haven't done the work, and like any work. And I'm doing all this work, and I just got really kind of pissed about it. It was busy on Saturday. We were getting a lot of requests on the app. People are singers are getting requests. They're trying to communicate to me what it is, and the guitar player's making noise like noodling between songs, and I can't hear. And I kind of snapped at him on stage, which is not the right thing to do, but I did. It wasn't that big a deal, but it was probably inappropriate. And then it just kind of escalated. Well, we went on break after that, and they communicated to me that wasn't cool, and I said, yes, I know. And then just a couple other things happened, and it was a perfect storm of tensions. Let's put it that way. And a lot people were drinking a lot, not me though, and it kind of blew up to the point where I was like, I quit. I can't. I'm not doing this anymore. I was really upset.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I went across the street to play with Rockbox, and I wasn't pissed at that point. I was like, I understood why everything was happening, but it was just so much stress. And it calmed down. It only took a couple hours, and then Jason communicated with me, and then we talked. I took the next day off, not from Rockbox, but from Cornerstone, and then we talked on Monday and worked it out. And now the agreement is that I'm not doing any of that work. I'm not calling the show anymore. I'm not doing it. I'm happy to come in and play bass. I'm happy to come in and sing, but I don't want to manage the band. It's not my responsibility. It's not my band. So that was, and
So how will that work with the tip app now? If you're
I'm
getting
still doing that.
Okay.
I agreed to still do that, and all I have to do is, if a request comes in, communicate it to the singer. The singers are calling the show. If there's one singer, there's 2 singers, they're calling the songs, and that's the way it should be. Because often I would have to ask a singer, like, "Are you cool singing this song?" Like, if it's a difficult song, challenging song, sometimes I have to see if the singer's in good voice that day.
It's so interesting, Steve. Not to cut you off, but just
It's okay.
to opine on what you're saying. it's like, so you guys like, the way you do it with the tip app and the requests and calling the songs, like on the fly on the stage. That's how like Hoi Polloi does it a lot, right? But
Right.
like for our band, it's very organized. Like, okay, we're playing XYZ venue this weekend. Okay, so that's a place where people are going to want to dance 90% of the time. They're not going to want to hear epic songs. They're going to want to get up and dance. So we'll structure the set list ahead of time to accommodate that. A couple of epic songs sprinkled in, but pockets of, 6 or 8 dance songs in a row, just enough where people are, they've danced enough and they're like, okay, I'm going to sit down now for a couple of songs and take a break,
Right.
which is, drastically different from the way that you guys operate, where you
Drastically.
pull up with no set list and it's just let's go and we'll call it as we go, which is cool, but a radically different departure from how I think most bands operate, with a set list, and this is what we're doing, and there's some audibles and some some other songs in the mix in case the guy doesn't want to sing 2 songs in a row, or the crowd is up dancing, so let's call an audible and keep them dancing. But for the most part, the show is already laid out beforehand. So that's
Yeah.
I want to mention that in the environment that you play in with both bands, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Neither one of them have a set list.
No set list. In fact, Rockbox doesn't even have anything in writing on the stage. It's just called from memory. But with Rockbox, it's pretty much the same show every night, or at least every Friday and Saturday. It's pretty much, there's some songs that are different, but there's certain songs or certain blocks of songs that go in the same place, basically played at the same time, which is both good and bad too. But that's another conversation for another time. But you're right. Yeah, it's radically different the way we do it. And I'm envious of you that you get to do that, because there's a craft that in putting together a set list. There's an art to it, and I love that art. And I've been doing it for a long time, like doing set lists. Back when I was playing in Jersey, and like Mad Rabbit, for instance, which was 2000, 2001. I did the set list, but I would do them at the gig. I didn't do them before the gig. And the reason for that was, one, being lazy, and and two, kind of wanting to feel out what the crowd was, digging.
Interesting.
I didn't have a whole lot of songs to pick from in that band. We had just pace, maybe a little over the minimum amount that we needed at that time too. That was like, say, a Fireside gig. We needed 30 songs, maybe 32.
Right.
So Jim Albrecht,
Yeah, Hoi Polloi, there he is.
he appreciates that you mentioned his
Absolutely, because I know that when Kel subbed with Jim, he was used to a structured set list. Look down, this is the next song. And then he subbed with Jim a couple of times, and he said it was very challenging for him to be on his toes to understand what song was coming next, because it was just, rapid fire, one into the next, one into the next, and and communicated on stage, with either a hand signal or some kind of spoken,
Right.
hey, we're doing this now. But sometimes you can't hear on stage, to your point. Like, someone's noodling, a guy leans over and he's like, hey, we're doing blah, blah, blah next. And you're like, what? And he's like, what?
Yeah.
So it's good to have signals like,
Yeah, we use hand signals a lot.
living on a prayer is always like prayer
Yep.
hands.
Prayer.
There's always like, there's industry, cover band industry, hand signals that everyone should be familiar with.
Yeah, we did. This is 69. That's what we do for that.
Summer of '69.
Summer of 69. This is the hand signal,
Okay.
which is pretty good. I got a cough. I got.
Then you've got peace, love, and understanding for Elvis Costello.
We never play that song. I love that song though.
Yeah, we do. We play it at almost every gig.
I would just do peace. That's all you need.
Yeah, peace, and then you know what's up, right?
Yeah.
Or we do the other Elvis, or pump it up. Pump it up's like pump, like just pump, like pump, pump, pump.
Right. Yeah, we have a ton of them. In fact, just about in Rockbox, just about every song there's a hand signal for it, and that was part of the challenge when I joined that band too, was learning all the hand signals, and a lot of them, like you said, are sort of industry standard. So a lot of them I knew, but then there were some like he does this, and I was like, what is that? and that is Simple Minds. Don't you forget about me. That's what he does, pointing to his
Yeah.
brain.
We used to do cuts like a knife,
Cuts like a knife. That's good.
scissor.
But so Jim said like no set list is the only way to go, basically, because you don't know what the dance floor is going to be that
Right.
a couple days prior to the show. So being that I approach this as an art, I love doing it on the fly because I love making it make sense and seeing an immediate result. So at Bourbon Street, we have foot traffic that is always walking by, and the goal is to get them to hear something to draw them into the club, and then once they're in there, to entertain them so they stay and buy drinks and tip the band and all that. So I can usually kind of get a feel for what's going on the street, and then base it on who's walking in the club, and then I base my song selection on that. But there's other factors that I consider. Genre, I consider the key all the time. The key is almost the first thing I go to. All right, like we're playing in D. What's another D song we could go to? That's almost always the first thing I think of, the key of the song. It's easy to segue if you're in the same key, from one song to another. And those guys, to their credit, Jason and Chris, who I've been working with for a long time, are very good at that. If they're paying attention, they know what song's next. They're very good at just keeping it moving. So that is the case where that's what we need to do, is just keep it moving. But Bourbon Street is interesting in that you're almost playing to different clubs during the course of a day or a night. Like for most people, they have a gig that's a destination gig, which means that people will go there, they'll stay there for however long they stay, and then they go home.
Yep.
They're not wandering around other places. They're going to that place for the sole purpose of seeing the band or eating or drinking or whatever it is.
And they're staying there for the day.
Right. They're staying there for the day, for the night, whatever. But in our case, it's not. So a destination gig, sometimes it could be a club with 3 people and the staff, and that's all you're playing to the entire night. Sometimes you go and you play to a moderately sized crowd. Sometimes you're playing to a packed room. We have all of those during the course of a day. So when there's only a couple people in the room and there's not many people on the street, we're more casual. We're not trying to segue from one song to another. We interact with the crowd a lot more that way. So, and that for us is very, very effective in keeping people there, getting them buying drinks, tipping the band, and liking what we're doing, and coming back too. We get people that are there in New Orleans for the weekend, and they'll come on Friday, see us and like us, and they'll be there the next day.
Sure.
And that happens a lot. And so it's an interesting dynamic for me to put together a show based on those factors. Like what kind of room is it right now? What kind of room is it going to be in 10 minutes or in a half hour? I have to kind of plan it like, well, what am I going to want to call in an hour from now?
You have that flexibility because you're observing and you're doing it on the fly. And it's interesting how that approach, if you're comfortable with doing it, right? Because I'm sure if you took a band like mine, right, that everything is on a set list regimented through 3 sets. If you said, hey, guys, we're going to play this next gig with no set list and just call out songs, it would be a disaster for the first 10 gigs until you got used to doing it, right? So you've been doing it for so long, like Jim has. But the interesting thing is that you'll do it in an environment where the crowd is constantly turning over, but yet Jim will do it in a destination gig environment, right? So it's applicable to both scenarios. It's just a matter of being comfortable with it and having enough experience at doing it that you're not only comfortable, but you're good at reading the room and then assembling the list on the fly, especially if you're the band leader and you're the one calling it, because as you're playing the song and perusing the room, you've already got 2 or 3 songs in your head, right? That could be coming next, depending on the key.
Yes, always. I mean, I'm always thinking a song or 2 ahead.
But I mean, even when you're a song or 2 ahead, you have 2 or 3 songs in mind that could be next. And you have to read the room and say, yeah, we're going to do song number 2 of my 3 next.
What's up, Steve? Steve's been out and about lately.
Making dinner. Nice.
Steve is a piano player, singer, and he subs with Rockbox a lot. And he was out last weekend.
Bon appetit, Steve.
Yes. So anyway, that that for me is a lot of work psychologically. It's a mental strain to think about it all the time because I really think of it as an art, and I want to do it as well as I can to yield the best results for
But are you stressed
people.
on stage while it's happening, or are you in a flow sometimes where the songs just come?
Both, yeah, both happen.
Mm.
Usually not stressed, just usually trying to plan it out.
Yeah,
Just looking at what I got and
paying attention.
where do I want to go? Where do I want to take this band today? Based on all the factors that I have to consider. So it was agreed that I'm not going to do that anymore. And this past weekend, I did not call the show on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at Bandstand, and it was fine. They did a good job. The two singers, they're a little all over the place. They don't think of it as much as I do, the way I do, like constructing things. But it doesn't matter a whole lot as far as the results we get. The two singers we have are very good at interacting with the crowd, and that's our niche kind of in that
Hey,
band
listen,
is
compromise is going to be either 80%, right, of what you could do with
right,
other people doing it and you not having to do it, or 100%, but you have to own it. So
right.
I guess that's really the challenge, right? Is to relinquish the control to somebody else,
Hmm.
but to be able to accept the fact that it's maybe not going to be the same as you did it or as good as you did it. It's just going to be different,
It's
right?
different, and I fully accepted it, and I was like breathing a sigh of relief. It was a lot of weight off my shoulders.
Yeah.
I enjoyed myself much more this past weekend.
That was my next question. Did you enjoy playing
Yeah,
music more, not having to think about the shots, right? Because if you're not calling the set, then you're just waiting for the next song, right? So you're not preoccupied with what's coming next, right? Halfway through the song, you're
exactly,
more concerned with finishing the song and playing your part, and then being, someone giving you the cue on what's next.
exactly.
That's
So
pretty liberating, Steve, from the position you were previously in.
yeah, I agree, and an improvement on the situation. I think all around, and yeah, it'll be great going forward. So it made really kind of the whole weekend much easier. Even though I'm still doing the doubles, it kind of made Rockbox playing with Rockbox easier. Great crowds again this past weekend. The last 2 weeks, a lot of young college kids in town for formals this weekend, and it was still spring break, I guess, the weekend before.
Mm.
So very enthusiastic, very good looking crowds, and ton of fun. I get to Rockbox. I am playing better, I believe, than I ever have in that band. I'm very comfortable with the songs. Like I said, we're doing the same songs basically all the time, the same
Sure.
show. So I'm very comfortable with them. My tone is better now that I switched the amps out, and I'm using a pick for most songs now too, and that kind of sounds a little better too. So any player knows that tone is something that you're constantly working on. So,
Oh yeah, no, I mean, especially for every instrument, right? I mean,
all
even
right,
drums, right? I mean, everyone tunes their drums differently, but there is a way to tune them to get the most out of them. You know?
right. Thanks, Steve. Steve said I'm kicking ass with Rockbox.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
I'll second that. I'll
It's
third that,
it's
Steve.
certainly fun. I'm definitely having a lot of fun with those guys and playing in that room, playing to nice crowds and playing those songs and all of it. But Steve, I hope you're feeling better. He's recovering from hip surgery this week.
Mm. It seems
So
to be a pretty speedy recovery nowadays, though the technology. Because I have a couple of friends of mine and relatives that have had hip replacements, and it seems like within a couple of days they're and walking around, and within a week they're like mobile.
yeah, I'm
Like
sure
Jim
he's
just
gonna
had it
do.
done. He was only down for like 2 days. I think he had it done on a Tuesday, and we had a gig on the weekend, and he was at the gig, standing, playing.
So maybe this is more common than we think, because Ron White here says that he plays in bands with song lists but not set lists, because you have to play to the venue, and they all sing lead. So when one guy's singing, somebody else is thinking about what song is next. So that's cool. That's an advantage
Yeah,
when everybody sings too.
but no, but to his point, not a set list, but a song list.
Yeah,
So
it's a
instead
song
of
list.
pulling from memory, he can look down and see the 50, 60, 70 songs that they might do, right? And
Right,
peruse it quickly and say, okay, yeah, pick this, pick that.
right.
But to your point, I think and I don't think Jim Albrecht has any list in front of him. It's once you've been doing it for a while, you just know your set and you know the songs that you do, and they I mean, to be able to recollect them on the spot is very impressive, right? Because I mean,
Well,
I
when
I
you've
could
been
I could recite to you the 70 songs that we have, but if I had to call the show and we were playing, the third song, and I had to call the fourth and fifth one, I'd have to really think about like what songs are in the repertoire that would fit here, right? I
yeah.
mean, it's a little different because I think you guys do a lot of the same songs, maybe in repeat fashion due to the changing over of the crowd, as opposed to, having 35 songs and that's all you're going to do.
Yeah, but like for Rockbox, for instance, when you've been doing basically the same show for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, you don't need it written down. It's there in your head.
Yeah, understood.
But I like personally when I have to call the show, I like having it in writing, whether it's on an iPad or a notebook. I use a notebook with printed sheets of paper.
Hey, do you think that it's due to the fact that you guys could play the same set, same songs night after night because it's a different crowd?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know we couldn't get away with that. Like if we're going to a venue, we got to look at the set list we played last time to make sure we got new songs in the rotation. Like we try to not play the same songs at every venue. This way, if fans are coming to multiple venues, they'll be like, "Oh, this is great because you don't play the same songs here that you play there." Or I know if I see you on a Saturday and a Sunday back to back, you're going to play two different sets.
hmm
So that's another thing to take into consideration, right?
And that's a good way to go about it. If you have a crowd that's a regular crowd, you want them coming back, or you're trying to grow your audience, like come back and see something new. So yeah,
So we constantly try to add like 2 to 4 songs every month. So we
hmm
constantly have new material.
right,
So at this gig, we're breaking out 3 new songs, 4 new songs, whatever, 1 new song. At least it's something new that no one's heard, and they appreciate that.
right. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But yes, you're right. We can do the same show because it's a whole new crowd. And not only is it the same songs, but it's the same shtick. Rockbox does a shtick with a lot of shtick with a lot of things in between songs, during songs, and it's the same exact shtick night after night. Which is it works because so it's funny, silly, and it works because it's a brand new crowd. And if it's funny once, then it's going to be funny every time to new people.
But I laugh when I see Jim's comment 600 songs he's
Right,
got in his mental repertoire.
right.
It's a lot of songs, man, right? So kudos to you, man, to be able to pull out song number 588
But let me ask
that,
Jim
that,
this.
that no one's played in a year and a half, right?
But let me ask Jim this though, Jim Ulrich. Do you have a master list somewhere written down? Are you saying you don't have it written down with you at the gig, or do you just not have it written down anywhere? Because that's crazy to me. Like, how would you not have? How would you not put together in writing, your song list?
Well,
Because
see, man,
sometimes you need to share it with other people. If you have somebody subbing, all right, here's our song list. I'll email it to you. So I'm curious about that.
I don't know how that works because here's 600 songs. We're going to play 35 at a gig, and I will I will determine the 35 songs we're going to play at the gig.
Right.
So just brush up on all 600 so that you're available.
Right. Right.
That when I call the 35 available songs, you're prepared to play them. I
Right.
think in that event, you would have to give the sub the courtesy of saying, yes, we have 600 songs in our repertoire, but we're probably only going to play these 50, and at least narrow it down to give the
Right.
guy a chance or the gal a chance, to get their head around it, right? But listen, it's
Yeah.
almost, we only got 20 minutes left and we haven't even talked about cover
But
band central.
I gotta say that drives me kind of nuts though. Especially if I'm working with people subbing for my band, and it's my job to get them to sub, and I've never worked with them before, especially singers, and I say, okay, can you send me your list of songs? Oh, I don't have a list. How do you expect me to know what to tell you to sing if you don't have a list? See, there it goes. Jim said we have an Excel sheet on website with all 600. That's what I mean. You have it written down somewhere. so you can refer people to it if they need to.
But that's nice. He said that he lets the bride, like for a wedding gig, pick 70 songs out of that 600 list,
Oh yeah,
And from that
that's what you do.
70, they'll pare it back and say, here's what we can get to,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. Um,
You know?
I don't have a personal list for myself of like all the songs I know, and that's something that I should do, and it would be fun to do. I've never needed it. I've never needed that for any reason, but it would be fun for me to just see exactly how many songs I know, like know that I could play
Yeah.
right
But
now.
what's interesting too is like I can remember sending doing a private party and having the client say, "Hey, send me your master list because I want to pick the 3 sets of music that I want to hear."
Right.
Then they pick them, and they may not be the greatest selections, right? Like they're just songs that they want to hear.
Uh-huh.
But then you try to structure it in a way like no one's going to dance to that. And if you want people to dance, like, and we've had that happen. We're playing songs and someone has come to us and be like, you need to play more danceable stuff. And it's
Right.
like, well, your host picked the entire set list, you know?
Right.
So after that experience, we refrain from that.
Yeah, that's probably
You know,
smart.
we're coming to your private party. We'll bring it. We'll play what we want to play.
Yeah.
Here's our typical genre of music we play, and here's
Right.
our set list. But we'll be selecting. If you have 5 songs that are must hears, definitely send them to us. But you're not picking all 40 songs.
Right. Yeah, that's the better way to go, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. We got on set list thing, which is
Yeah,
it's cool.
well,
it's a great
yeah.
conversation to have, and
Hey,
we
this
could,
is Wisdom Hour, dude. It
well,
goes
no,
where
it's
it
not.
goes.
It's not Wisdom Hour anymore.
I mean, it's CBC hour, so the conversation goes wherever the conversation takes it. We may have a plan on what we want to talk about, but then something important might come up that warrants
Yeah.
further.
Well, it was related to what happened
Expansion.
with me, calling songs and now not calling songs. So
Yeah.
anyway, but much better. It's all is peaceful. It got a little heated there for a minute, but that's what happens when you're working with people this often and doing something that's highly emotional and all that. So
And we must remind ourselves, Steve, that gigs are fun. We play music for fun,
Yeah.
for enjoyment.
and I did have a lot of fun this weekend. So I plan to continue that.
Excellent.
This coming week is next 2 weeks Jazz Fest in New Orleans, so it should be fun.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people in town. So yeah, I should have had the banner ready.
The
There it
banner.
is. 9th birthday to us 9 years
Yes.
ago. 9 years ago, I started the Cover Band Central Facebook page. The truth is, the real birthday, if you want to get to the birthday of the name Cover Band Central, it's in June. I don't remember what the date is, and I really should know that. It's like the 20th. I think it's June 20th. No, 19th. I do know the date. June 19th, which now is called Juneteenth.
Yes.
And it wasn't back then when I started Cover Band Central. But the first thing I started was the Cover Band Central Facebook group, June 19th,
And you were calling it Cover Bandteenth. So
2013.
It's kind of reference to that.
Yeah, I call it was 2013, June 19th. I called it Cover Band Central, and that the group was the first thing I started. But the whole thing didn't really start to take off until I started the page, which was April 25th, 2014, 9 years ago today. And my goal was really to have a community at first, just to have a community. I knew there were people all over the world that play covers, because everywhere I've been, and I've traveled, pretty well, there's musicians. And generally every musician either plays a cover or has played a cover.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that this community existed, but there was really no home for it. So I came up with that name and created a home, and then did a lot of writing. I was doing a lot of writing, and I wanted to share my writing with other people. And that was really the way I wanted to do it, was to put the community together that would read my writing, that it applied to.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started the page, and that's where I kind of learned how to curate content and come up with post schedules and grow the audience. And I've been sticking to it now for 9 years. Every day for 9 years, I have worked on the Cover Band Central Facebook page, and we're at 671,000 followers, and it's been growing exponentially. So I expect it to hit 1 million early next year, I would
So
say.
I can only hope that the viewers and listeners of this podcast can appreciate the 9 years of effort and dedication that you've put into this, because, I've known you for much longer than that. And I
Right,
remember when you launched this endeavor and started it, long before the podcast was even a thought.
right.
And, it was a great idea. And it's really exciting, and it's a testament to your dedication to what, you believe in, and to grow this platform. And I really hope that people out there in the group appreciate that this is not something like, you know, that is an easy thing to do. Anybody can do it. Just join in. That's why I like when people are on and they have commentary, or it's snarky or whatever. It's like we don't have time for that, because you're invested your time and your life into something that's very valuable, and that a lot of people get a lot of enjoyment from, a lot of information from, and at least some comedy relief from the podcast, because there's really no nuggets of wisdom in there. Just fun. But and then the impetus of that is then the birth of the podcast from Cover Band Central, which has now brought us to where we are today. So if you look
Yes.
back from 9 years ago, from your initial idea to today, I mean, it's like millenniums of light years you have traveled, Steve. So I salute you, my friend, in your efforts for bringing this to the public, and for keeping it alive, and for asking me to do the podcast with you. We're
Yes.
now almost 200 episodes in, which we never thought we would be. 200 hours of podcasting.
Yeah, I don't know that
So
we did. I don't
I,
think that we even
so
considered it
I,
really.
I
We're
think my
just
point that I'm trying to make is that the time is going to pass regardless of what you do. So spend your time doing quality things that matter, because you're going to blink your eyes, and 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years is going to have passed by you. And you want to be able to look back and say, yeah, 5 years has passed, or 10 years has passed, but look what I've accomplished in those 10 years, or look how much better I've gotten at playing my instrument, or look how much I've advanced in this or that, or look how far my band has come, or look how we could barely even play songs, and now we're actually out in clubs playing. Like, the time's going to pass. So invest your time every day in something worthwhile, because the cumulative results of what you invest your time in are going to be your legacy, right? And they're going to be the things that carry you forward, and you're going to see progress with. You can very easily do nothing for 9 years, and yeah, 9 years has gone by, and I'm 9 years older, and I'm grayer, and I'm older, and what do you have to show for it, though?
right.
And today you sit here before everyone and say, 9 years ago, I took a chance on my idea, and I grew it to what it is today.
Yeah.
So I commend you, my friend.
Thank you. Well spoken, Tony, and I appreciate that. And you speak the truth there. You just, doing something, you might not see progress in a day, in a week, in a month, in a year, but then the cumulative effect of that, you'll see a tremendous amount of progress if you put your
It,
time into something worthwhile. And that's the key, is worthwhile. It's got to be something that you have passion for. That's something that you're going to do when you don't feel like doing it.
Got to stick with it.
Yeah, and that's something that's been consistent for me, throughout my whole life, is music. Music has always been a driving force for me, even well before I played it. A lot of my life was based around music, and just the things the passions that I had, the love that I had, like going to concerts, listening to my record player or
Yeah.
whatever. So it's a passion of mine, and I still get the same amount of juice when I see a new band or a new artist or something. I discover a video of somebody doing a cover that is like blowing it out, and I still get the same chills and the same passion that I've always gotten. So that, for me, that's how I know that this was my calling to do this. I'm the person that was born to do this Cover Band Central thing
Well, and if you
out of
pursue it,
8 billion people.
yeah, and if you pursue it with passion, like you have, right? It's like anything else. It's like you're an aspiring musician, and you take lessons, and your teacher gives you a lesson for the week, And if you're proficient, let's say you go through that lesson, and you're like, I spent an hour practicing it, and I know it, and I'm good, and I'm prepared for my next lesson, right? So when you're young like that, you think like, man, I'm killing it. I'm way ahead of the curve, right? But not many people think to go to their teacher and say, hey, man, the stuff you're giving to me, I'm 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 conquering in an hour, and I really have nothing else to practice for the week. So it'd
Mhm.
be good if you could challenge me more.
Yeah.
But I think as a young player, you look at practice like, oh, this is something I have to do because I have a deliverable on this, right? But then when you realize, if you change your perspective and say, I want to become passionate about practicing, because the more that I practice, the quicker I'll become better. And the quicker I become better, the more proficient I am on my instrument, the more creativity I'll have, and the more suited I'll be able to be to express my creativity on my instrument, right? And I'll be able to convey my ideas and my thoughts through my instrument, through my music.
And it's
And
more fun. It's
and it's and
way
it's
more
more
fun.
fun. Yeah, but if you look at practice like, oh, I got to practice today because I got to do blah blah blah. It becomes a chore, right? It becomes like anything else. It becomes something that's not desirable. When you turn into something that you're passionate about, and after a few months of a daily routine and some diligence, you see tremendous results. You become even more empowered to be like, holy shit, man! If I stay with this, I am going to really have some results that I didn't expect. I didn't realize I was even capable of this.
Yeah. I'll
You know?
tell you maybe later or another time, but I'm doing it with my current eating program. I don't want
Mm.
to call it a diet because diet implies that you're depriving yourself of something, and I'm not doing that. I'm just eating smart and and regularly and whatever. And I've been doing it for a couple weeks, and I'm already seeing results. Just a couple weeks, I'm
Yeah,
already
yeah.
seeing results. So, but like Albert said it too about weights. Here he said practicing was like lifting weights. You lift and you lift and you lift, and one day you're strong. Practice, practice, practice. One day you improve, and that's the truth. And we talked about it before, even recently. How much I'm playing, and it's me practicing. Me playing is still me
100%.
practicing.
It's how many hours you're on your instrument.
Yeah, and I almost feel weird. Like come Sunday after I've already played 200 plus songs on Friday and Saturday, and I put my bass on. I feel like it's almost weird to not be playing my bass. It's almost
Yeah.
more uncomfortable to not be playing my bass than it is to be playing my bass.
Yeah.
And people are always kind to me. People say nice things about my playing and stuff pretty much every week, and I'm always very grateful, but very humbled by it. And I think like, huh? Why? I'm
Mhm.
just doing the thing that I do all the time. Like it's not that big a deal. But of course, other people see it differently, and I don't see it from that perspective, which is good. It keeps you grounded. And but it definitely works. All the stuff you're saying is just you keep at something, and I've been playing bass now for 40 years, and I've never not been playing in a band, pretty much.
No,
There's
likewise, I don't think a day has gone by that I haven't had drumsticks in my hand,
right,
in my
right,
entire, like, at least in the past 30 years, if not more. Because when
right.
you're younger, you don't have that type of discipline. But once you get the bug, right, and you're in a band and you're taking lessons and you're seeing results. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
for me, it just empowered me to practice more. And when people told me, "Oh man, you're killing it," like to what you just said, you're humbled by it and say thank you. It's like it's kind of like validation that all of my efforts are kind of being recognized. It's not a thing where it's like,
Yeah,
of course I'm good because I practice a ton, and
yeah.
thank you for recognizing that. But I already know I'm good.
I
It's like,
almost feel like it's weird though, because I almost feel like, really, like you say it validates. Like I don't need any validation
no,
by
no,
anybody.
no, no. But
Not
I don't.
that I know you didn't mean that,
Yeah,
but I definitely I
I'm
don't.
saying, instead of taking it like, hey, like, you don't need validation, but it's like, instead of taking that compliment, like, of course I'm good. You
Right,
say
right,
like,
right.
wow, thank you for
You're
noticing
humble,
that, because
yeah,
I've worked really hard on it, and I'm humbled because I know I can be so much better than I am right now.
yeah,
Instead of being like, I'm great, and I'm never going to be any better. Like, people that have that attitude are never going to be any better, right? And they
no,
might be great, but they're not going to be greater because they're
no,
not pursuing it. So as long as a musician, like, and to your point, we're constantly evolving and saying like, I'm humbled by that, and you have no idea how much better I could be. If come see me in a year from now, type of thing. So it's like you're always striving to get better, and you're never comfortable or sitting on your laurels saying like, yeah, hey man, of course I'm good. I've been playing drums for 40 years, or I've been playing bass for 40 years. Of course I should be
No,
good.
that just feels weird, you know?
Exactly. But there are people out there like that. So when I
Yeah,
say validation, it's like, it's more like, it's not validating like your proficiency, but it's kind of like kudos to you that you've put in the time to develop your ability to a point where people notice it. It's not like
right.
I've developed my ability to where I'm great and I have a head, I have a big head about it and I have an ego about it, right? As soon as you have the ego and you think you're great, you've lost the essence of what it is to be creative and have passion about what you're doing, right? Because
Yeah,
as an artist, we always want to be better. And I know like you and I shared the same thing where it's like, that sucked. Like I played 85% of what I could have done there. But to someone
right.
in the audience, they may be like, that's the greatest thing they've ever seen.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, spot
like
on with
like an
all that.
artist painting a picture, right? The guy paints a picture or the gal paints a picture and says, yeah, it's all right. And then it gets, rave reviews and sells for, hundreds of thousands of dollars at an art gallery because someone else saw it and said, oh my God, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Yet
it's
the
all.
person that's created it is like, it's good, but it's not my best work. And I'm sure my next painting is going to be even better. You
Yeah,
know,
as artists, we're
um,
very, very critical of ourselves all the
we
time.
are,
But
but we can't be down on ourselves. You know what I mean?
right,
We can't be down.
right. But I want to read this comment. It's going to cover our faces here, but this is nice. Facebook user said, "I appreciate Steve's work and dedication to Cover Band Central. CBC has been a place where I can ask and answer questions on professional topics, as well as network with other musicians in different locations and make professional connections that can help me grow my business. When this business can be somewhat dog eat dog, it's nice to find other musicians who are generous with their knowledge. Steve Witchell is a genuinely kind professional. Thank you for your contributions to the profession." Facebook user, thank you for saying all that. That gives me chills, and I really, really appreciate the recognition of that. And again, the same as we're just talking about. Like I'm not doing this for any sort of validation whatsoever. I am enthusiastic about my passion and love for music, and that is what drives me. When I see another band killing it, I hear another singer that just sings something in a different way or better than I've ever heard it. It's brand new for me again. I absolutely love it. That's what continues to drive me with this. And I do like teaching and helping people and imparting my wisdom, and that's why you and I kind of got along at first, and we did it for each other. And
Yeah.
how we started the podcast, we called it the Wisdom Hour, and we wanted to kind of impart what we've known and learned and experienced to other people. And that continues to this day with this podcast, even though we're calling it a different thing now. But
It still has the same content. And like you
yeah,
said, we're still, humbled by everyone's, comments and accolades. And, to your point, Steve, anything you do with passion and from the heart that's genuine is going to attract other people of like-mindedness. And I think
yes,
you've, really accomplished that with this Cover Band Central platform, and people realize that and they appreciate it. So,
yeah, and it's nice to hear it. It
yeah.
certainly is. So I appreciate that feedback. You can also show some appreciation by going to coverbandcentral.com. Sign up for a profile for you, your band, or both. It is free. That is the hub for all of Cover Band Central stuff. If you want to contact me or Tony, you can go to Steve at coverbandcentral.com is the email. I mentioned YouTube. Follow us on YouTube. The link is in the description. Subscribe to that. Hit the bell,
Yeah.
and you'll get notified when we go live. And paypal.me/coverbandcentral is our tip jar. If you want
Yeah,
to
if you
throw,
want to send $100 to Tony, just that's the address right there.
there you go. Or you want to throw a couple bucks in there, whatever you want to do. Give us some stars.
I mean, see, if you talk stars, which are pennies, man, I'm talking hundreds, So you gotta
Yeah,
shoot
yeah,
higher.
yeah. And I think it deserves that. So hundreds for sure, thousands. Tony, come on.
Dollar per episode, man. Come on, $198. We'll take it.
Again, happy 9th birthday to us. Thank you guys for being a part of this
Yeah.
ride. I can't wait to hit 1,000,000. By year 10, it will be 1,000,000. No
Yes.
doubt about it. So stick around. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your pets. Cover Band Central is the way to go, baby. We'll see you next time.